Our hero this week is a Scottish BAFTA-nominated composer whose landscape of work is truly rare and epic. We could base that on over the 30 million gamers who basked in the sunlight of his soundtracks for decades, or we just might ask them what their favorite game is, and chances are it was his melody behind your moods during those amazing N64 days, playing GoldenEye 007, Perfect Dark, Banjo-Kazooie, Donkey Kong 64, or maybe you heard some of his soundtracks as the games got larger in scale and more complex when you played them for PC, when you were playing Civilization, Beyond Earth, Rising Tide, Viva Pinata, Yooka-Laylee, Kingdoms of Amalur, or even Mario and Rabbids Kingdom Battle. And all of that is just scratching the surface of his amazing work. So we are so honored and pleased to have him on the podcast. Grant Kirkhope, thank you so much for being here.
That makes me sound much better than I am, I'm afraid.
Oh my goodness. No, it's just a great honor to have you, Grant. And I'd love to kind of start this whole thing with how you started. Were you always into music?
I started playing recorder, I think, at 4.
Wow.
3 or 4. But I think that, it's just when I went to school in the UK. Well, first of all, my mum and dad, my mother was a dancer. She danced on the stages in Edinburgh, in Scotland. My dad was like a works manager at a steel plant, but he was a very musical guy. So, and they were massive music fans. So in those back in there, their things were like, Frank Sinatra and Glenn Miller and the big band. So I knew a lot of that when I was super young. I knew all of Frank Sinatra's songs, lots of them, and lots of the big band stuff, So I went to school and they said he's a recorder. It was 15 shillings at the time, back in the 60s, whatever it was. So I just put my hand up. I thought, well, I want to do it. I don't know why. And then a bit later, they came around with a cornet when I was about 6, and in a shopping basket, shopping bag it was, and it just said, "Anybody want to play this?" And I put my hand up first and got the cornet, and then so I started playing trumpet about 6, and then went all the way through school, and then did the kind of classical training thing, and then I ended up at I started playing guitar about 12, so I'm kind of a self-taught kind of metal guitar player.
Wow.
So that kind of rock guitar, I did that. So and I ended up at the Royal Northern College of Music in Manchester when I was 18, doing a 4-year music degree.
And that was at RNCM?
Royal Northern College of Music, yeah. So
on Oxford Road there. That's right.
So that's right. Yes, that's right there. Yes, well done. Yeah. And then I kind of finished that at 22, and then I kind of spent the next 11 years on and off unemployment benefit, really playing in bands. For that 11 years, some of the bands I played for did all right. Some of the bands did terrible. So some on guitar, some on trumpet. And then I got to like 33, and one of my friends, Robin Beanland, who we played in bands together in North Yorkshire, he had actually got a job. And I was like, none of my friends got jobs. We all just kind of, played in bands and spent time on unemployment and all that, that kind of thing for years and years and years. He said, I'm going to go look at Rare as a composer. I was like, oh, that's a job. He said, yeah. So I'd been there about a year. He'd been there about a year and a half, and he said to me, Greg, you've been on and off unemployment for about 11 years. It was hard. I was still living with my mother at 33. He said, why don't you try and do what I'm doing? I was like, well, I guess I could try. So he recommended some equipment I could buy, a synthesizer, Cubase, bits and pieces that I put together. The last £1,000 to my name. And I spent sort of 1994, over that course of that year, learning how to work. I sent Rare 5 cassette tapes over the course of that year. I never got a reply. And then out the blue, got a letter saying, please come an interview. And I got the job. Did you believe it? So absolute fluke. So if Robin had done it, if Robin had not gone and done it, I would never have done it.
Wow.
So it's all down to Mr. Robin Beanland. I guess he kind of changed my life, really.
That's incredible. And, those old bands you were talking about that you traveled with and you experimented with, and I was trying to find some of them. I was actually jamming out to Zoot and the Roots earlier.
That band did okay, really. It was that was a proper working band. We probably did 4 gigs a week for like 7 years, a long time. And it was a proper working. We'd played all over the UK, quite a lot of Europe. Zoot were a very kind of well-known band in the UK. We just never quite got a deal. But we actually got offered a deal once, but turned it down, which I thought was a mistake at the time. But there you go. But yeah, so that was a very kind of. And then I played for Little Angels, who were like quite a big UK rock band. They had a #1 album, and we ended up, they could headline tour in the UK, and then we ended up we were the opening act for a 6-week Bon Jovi tour around Europe, a 6-week Van Halen tour around Europe. Brad Adams played with him, ZZ Top. They did a lot of those big arena shows, like 90,000 people. As the opening act, not the main act, but the opening act.
Yeah.
So the Bon Jovi tour was great. The Van Halen tour was great. I mean, doing those things was amazing.
Do you still, dabble in live music like that? Do you still go on the road, or you just do you miss it at all?
I do miss it, I think, because, I think you miss that. The excitement of those big shows is incredible. Even if you're just the opening act, it's still incredible. Playing to the Mannheim Stadium in Germany with Bon Jovi and Billy Idol, it was like 90,000 people. We played the old Wembley Stadium with Brad Adams. It was sold out, 77,000 people.
Oh, my goodness.
To do these giant numbers, it's just, I guess you get a bit blasé, but, it's super exciting to do something of that size. It's just that great big rock and roll production. It's just,
Yeah, that magnitude too.
Yeah,
that's
phenomenal.
Great.
It really is. Yeah. So I don't really like playing now, though. I think I might. Although we're talking about different lights. I'm talking about playing with Dave Wise. Dave Wise does does gigs and stuff. So I'm talking about maybe doing some stuff with him. So we'll have to see. You never know.
Yeah, what's to see? That sounds good. That sounds real good. Well, I would love to start playing a few of your cues. And we could just chat about them if that's all right.
Sure.
This song was the first song that you actually were able to play for me.
Okay.
This is great too. Now you played this on the ukulele for me.
Oh, did I? Yeah.
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 That is Click Clock Wood. And if you could, share with us just a few memories of creating this iconic tune.
So when we were at Rare and we were doing the game Dream before it turned into Banjo, right? It was Dream, first of all. And I'd written like 107 pieces of music in Dream, and quite a lot of those got scrapped because we just turned it into Banjo. And Dream was more of a kind of RPG, as opposed to Banjo as a platformer. So I remember when it switched to Dream, I said to Banjo, they said to me, what? Because I guess I was still quite new at Rare, right? So they said to me, could you write us just a kind of jolly platform tune to show you can do it, really? So that was the first thing I came up with. I wrote that it wasn't for any level. It's just a general tune I wrote that I thought was a kind of jolly platform tune. And we started the game, and I got started with the game, One Was Mountain and all that. But when it came to Click Clock Woods, I thought, that tune I wrote, must have been a year and a half ago, whatever it was. So I thought it might quite fit that level. So I dug it out of the folder and rejigged it a little bit, and that's the tune that ended up on that level. So it was I didn't write it for that level. I just wrote it as a general jolly platform tune, but I thought it fitted the level, so I used it in the end. So that's how that one came around.
Wow! So sort of as like almost an audition sample.
Yeah, sort of, I guess. Yeah, because I guess I'd done quite a lot of music for the Dream, but they sort of said, "Let's hear you write a platform tune." I guess they didn't think I could do it. They didn't know I could do it, So.
Well, you certainly showed them. I mean, this is just this song gets stuck in my head all the time, randomly. I'm sitting at the grocery store, and I'm just start humming it, and I'm like, where did it come from? Oh, yeah. The recesses of my mind. That's terrific.
I think sometimes, when you write things that are super simple, like that is really simple, sometimes it's the best option. But I do feel like as composers, sometimes we do tend to try to write very complex pieces of music, lots of complex orchestration, and not a lot of the time people don't want to hear that. They want to hear that simple thing they can whistle at the grocery store, So.
Okay, terrific. Well, here, let's just crack on. There's a few more here, and we're gonna kind of jump a little bit out of order for a few reasons. when I first played this game as a young man, I thought it was serious. This is like serious gaming. All of a sudden, I felt like a spy. I felt like I was in the universe. Every game I had played before that had some sort of, I don't know, felt like kind of a safety net of, this kind of comic-y, cartoonish feel. But this did not have that. This was serious, and I felt like I was a real spy infiltrator. What was your take on that? Did you just want to go in seriously with this piece, treating it almost like a movie?
Yeah, and I suppose I'd done GoldenEye by that point, and I'd done Banjo-Kazooie, and then during writing Perfect Dark, I was also working on Banjo-Tooie and Donkey Kong 64 at the same time. So I did 3 games at the same time then. Which is a bit tricky, that one, a bit of a tricky year or so.
How do you keep all that in your head? That's wild.
Well, so I guess that's why Perfect Dark, I think, came at this the way it was, because it's so different to DK64 and Banjo-Tooie. And in my mind, Banjo-Tooie was the jolliest. DK64 was slightly darker, because I felt like Dave Wise's soundtracks from the DKC games were a little bit darker. So I could look at that, and I could kind of compartmentalize it. So really jolly for Banjo and quirky, dark, a little bit darker for DK. And from Perfect Dark, but at the time, X-Files was massive at the time, so I liked the X-Files soundtracks, and and I guess also the kind of Blade Runner thing. I like the soundtrack of that movie a lot, so I was just trying to do that with Perfect Dark. And it's fun writing something that was sneak around and aliens and all that kind of gadget stuff that she does. I mean, it was I loved writing that music for Perfect Dark. It was.
Oh, that's so wonderful. And the inspiration of the piano. There's a little, I don't know. It's just me, right? Is there a little Jaws in there?
A lot of times in those kind of movies, you get that kind of really low down piano doing stuff. So I was just trying to emulate that. So it really just a random thing. I just went, there was no kind of set thing behind it. I just thought it sounded good. So I just kind of tapped it in. And I thought it gives you that secret agent sneaking about thing. I think it feels like that with the piano, gives it that real kind of that nature.
Well, that secret agent segue goes into obviously one of these incredible games that you've done, right? GoldenEye. I don't know if you've seen this, but I would love to see your reaction to this. This is somebody who thinks they were you. They impersonated you on the internet here.
I just wanted to see how that pause music. Now, keep in mind, this is a movie tie-in video game for the Nintendo 64. Not looking for anything too crazy. What do you think about this?
My question is to you is, did it happen just like that?
No. It was like, it took me like 20 minutes, 15 minutes to write it, really. I mean, it was like one of those things you just, because when you have to write a pause tune, I don't think you think much about it. It's one of the things that people press pause and, they go and make a cup of tea or a cup of coffee, come back and get on with the game, whatever. So I'll go to the bathroom, I don't know. So I feel like you don't really give it any thought, really. You just kind of get something that's in the vein of the game. It has the mood of it, and, that's how you think about it, really. So it's bizarre that it's become this kind of TikTok sensation that everyone thinks I'm the grandfather of trap music. I don't even know what trap music is. It's a little bit weird. So, but it's super humbling that people like it. But these things are weird. It's a bit like you don't know, those kind of viral moments that you get. You can never predict it. It could be anything. I was watching the LA Lakers, the basketball team who play here in LA. They use that when they try to dribble out the clock at the end. They play that.
Wow!
At the arena, which is like incredible. I didn't even know they did that.
Oh, that's amazing. I didn't know that either. You don't get any royalties for that at all, do you?
Well, I don't know. I don't know how that's going to go after. Let's see. But I mean, it was a weird thing that that tune. I mean, I guess that and the DK rap are those two things that kind of have got a little bit of a life of their own. And I feel like the DK rap even more so. Now it's in the Mario movie. It's all over TikTok. People are using it all over the place.
Oh yeah, it's gone viral. It's crazy.
So I feel like of all the music that I've written in my career, it's the GoldenEye pause music and the DK rap. I've had to, not my best work, but there you go.
Wow, isn't that something? And that's, it's definitely up there in the Hall of Fame. We've got a few pause musics that, people. You're right. They pause it, and sometimes there's no. In fact, most of the time there's no music at all. They actually freeze the game. But I don't know. I think that you just have a way. You just have a way of just keeping the entire game entertaining, even the pause music, which was great.
And I think in the olden days we just always wrote pause music. It was just a thing, So we just did that.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I'm so grateful for this. I'm so grateful for that pause music because it would be in our household. It would be like, hey, it's lunchtime. Pause the game, take a break, and you pause it. You let that stuff run. You let that music run. It was just great.
Yeah, it's such a weird thing. How some of these things take off. You just never know, do you?
No, you never know. And when you moved a little bit further down in your career and you're scooting all in the line, people are starting to recognize you like for all these amazing things, and you are stepping into more and more complex games. This Kingdoms of Amalur is just like, this is where that old trumpet stuff and all your brass section comes back. This is so epic. Can we listen to just a second of this? This is
sure. I forgot how that one went, so it's quite good to hear it after a while. I've not heard it for ages. That's good.
Oh man, I'm glad we could listen to it together. That when I first saw the troll in this game, it was just like troll. Like this is that moment where it's that boss fight music. You need something thunderous and dangerous and epic. Wow, you just nailed it. You totally nailed it.
Well, I think when I did this game right, I think it was the first time I'd done something that was of that scale, like sort of orchestra-wise. It was a very big orchestra. So, and I kind of thought I need to prove to myself that I can actually do it. So it was a real kind of turning point in my career. In my own head, it was like, can I really do something like this? Have I got that ability? So the first boss piece that I wrote for that game was Balor, Balor. And it's a really quite all over the place, technical, orchestra thing. So I was trying to prove to myself I could do it. And I thought, you know what? I think I can. It worked out all right. And so, the game got quite recognized at the time for the soundtrack, which was quite, it was very, very humbling for people to like it. And a few of the kind of movie review people picked up on it, which is quite interesting, And I felt like I proved to myself that, because at the time I was thinking I was living in Baltimore. I wanted to move to LA. And I was thinking, can I want to do some movie stuff, I thought, well, I need to prove to myself that I can actually write that kind of epic movie music, So, but literally for the 4 years that I worked on that game, I listened to the first 3 Harry Potter soundtracks by John Williams in the car every day. And I'm not joking, it was every day. And my wife was so sick of hearing the Harry Potter soundtracks. My kids were like, just pulling their hair out. But I was trying to learn how to write that kind of music of that scale and try to, in my own little way, try to get some of that John Williams magic into that. I'm not saying I did it because he's a legend, But I tried my hardest. So I kind of felt like those Harry Potter soundtracks, the first 3 that he wrote, were my kind of textbook that I would learn from every day. So whenever I was in the car, that music was on, just went round and round. And I'm not joking, for 4 years it went round and round and round and round.
Oh my goodness.
I tried to pick up some of that magic. So and I felt like, magic aside, I felt like I proved to myself that I could write music at that scale. I think before that.
Wow. And before that, were you kind of a solo or, a solo with a few assistants or whatever type of composer, kind of doing it on your own? Or
So I've always been on my own. I've never had any employees at all. Everything that I write comes from me. There's no one else apart from me. There's just Grant Kirkhope. That's it. I don't have a team of people. To this day, it's just me. You just have to get on with it. That's what I say.
That's fantastic. So are you walking into a room with a bunch of musicians with your sheet music and saying, this is what I want to do?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So so I did use live orchestra for Viva Pinata. That was the first time I used live orchestra. I was when I was still at Rare. So I write my music very much in kind of score order. It looks like a score, like, piccolos and flutes and woodwind first, and it's in the right order, So, but I use an orchestrator to turn it into note parts for the player. So, I could do that, but it would take a lot of time. And I haven't done it for a while. I'm classically trained, so I could write it, but most people these days use an orchestrator. So you'll write the parts out. You'll really not write the parts. You'll do all the music and give them a MIDI file, all the rest of it, and they'll make proper parts out of it. And then, you turn up, we did it in Prague at the City of Prague Philharmonic Symphony Orchestra. No, City of Prague Philharmonic Orchestra, not Symphony Orchestra. And we did it there. That's with Viva Pinata. I used the same orchestra for Kings of Amalur, the same orchestra in Prague.
Wow, same orchestra. That's fantastic.
Yeah, so we went back to those guys because I knew them, by that point I knew them well and they were great. Oh, we did Banjo-Kazooie nuts and bolts with them as well. So
wow, okay.
We knew that they were a good bunch of people and we got along with them and it worked out great. I've actually just been recording there 2 weeks ago remotely for something else I'm doing right now. So I still got a relationship with that orchestra.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, they were great. So, and I guess as a composer, there's no greater moment than being in a room full of people playing your music, right? I mean, you do it with samples and sample libraries, but there's nothing like real people. Real human beings just do things that sample libraries don't, not without a lot of tweaking. Human beings just do natural things, that ebb and flow and all the rest of it that do music. So nothing like real people.
Grant, this is going great. And speaking about your path and discovering all these different ways to succeed, it reminds me of another podcast. And I would just like to take a minute to share with our listeners about this episode 3 that I listened to with this incredible woman who's a coder and a game designer and a musician. It's awesome. The appropriately named podcast is called What the Hell is My Job? And it pulls back the curtain with these short, little anonymous and lighthearted insights into the lives of working people. So after listening to just a few episodes, which are very succinct, by the way, they're like only 10 minutes long, they're very short and fun, it helps you understand their attitudes towards certain careers, their desires for that work-life balance that we're all trying to get, and where they come from and where they're going in their employment lives. I mean, look, in this day and age, people need to be multi-talented, multitasking, and have an entrepreneurial spirit just to survive. And I listened to this particular episode on the podcast, episode 3 of What the Hell is My Job? And it gives you this bite-sized look into this career that this woman is manufacturing, right? She's doing underground music and secret. She's doing the demo creation stuff for one client while she's modding Warcraft 3 maps, and she's even exploring 3D animation. So y'all got to check this one out. It's on Spotify, it's on iTunes, and all their episodes are available on their website at whatthehellismyjob.com. I'll drop the link in the description below, and y'all can check it out. And you can even get them on buymeacoffee.com. Especially if you like the podcast, go and support them. So, thank you, Grant, for allowing me to just take a moment and chat about that. I'm really excited about their podcast, and I wish them all the luck in the world. Now, where were we? And you can tell on Viva Pinata and on especially Kingdoms of Amalur, it's like, it really feels like you're playing an epic movie. It feels more like a movie than a game.
Yeah, I really tried to do that, especially in the cinematic sequences. I really tried to think, I was trying to prove to myself I could do it. So if I ever get offered a movie, if I do, can I do it? So I was really trying to make it more movie-esque, I think.
Yeah.
Or more cinematic, So, yeah, I was super happy with that soundtrack. It turned out great.
And you were nominated for Best Score for a video game or interactive media by the International Film Music Critics Association and in the Q Awards. For Best Overall Score and Best Video Game Score for Best Breakout Composer. Is that?
I know, yeah, that was crazy. Then that was I mean, I didn't think people would notice the soundtrack really, but it got, as I say, some of the movie review guys picked up on it, which was like really just amazing for me, to think that they'd looked at it and listened to it. So, and I got, getting. I mean, I didn't win anything, but I got nominated.
Hey, that's, I mean, it's you're the few among many, and you scaled beyond all of them. Congratulations. That's just wonderful. And
yeah, it was great. I mean, yeah, it was a great time, that was.
And since we're talking about Viva Pinata, let's just have a listen to one of these amazing cues here. How beautiful! Oh my goodness!
I love writing I love writing Viva Pinata. It was right on my street. That was.
Oh my goodness! It nearly brings me to tears because it's just so peaceful and full of life and creation and whimsical just feel. That's just beautiful.
And I actually wrote that tune right when I was getting married. I decided that in the UK you have to go up and sign the documentation in the ceremony, right? I guess it's the actual contract, And I thought, usually by that point people play something. I thought I'll write something, so I wrote that tune for when my wife and I went off to sign the register and came, in that little thing. So I wrote it for that. And then when it came to the game, I thought, you know what, that tune's, I should use it. And so I brought it into the game and used it in the game. So I wrote it before I was even at Rare. No, tell you what, I was at Rare when I wrote it because I got married when I was still at Rare. But I did, it was a piece that I wrote to use just for my wedding. But I brought it, like writing the music for Viva Pinata was like, it was a massive joy for me. I got to write some really just nice, tuneful music with live orchestra. It was just fun. It was just fantastic, and like, I feel like I'm a big fan of that kind of 20th century English music, that kind of, I think it's 20th century and 19th century, whatever, but like Vaughan Williams and Elgar and those kind of classic British composers. And I'm not saying I'm anything apart from those two guys, but I was trying to capture the thing that kind of typically British thing, British country guard. I don't know what you call it, but they spoke to me like that. So I just wanted to try to write something that I thought was, in that ilk. And it was a real joy to write those two games. It was phenomenal. I really liked that.
Oh, wow! It's so wonderful to learn that you wrote it for your wedding. It just feels like love. It's what it feels like. It feels like a, that's what that game is all about. It's all about creating a beautiful farm, creating all these animals to get together and procreate and be happy. And it's it's a beautiful. It's a beautiful thing. Well done.
No, I really loved writing that music. It was great. I guess it kind of hype up my career in my own eyes, kind of thing.
Well, sure. And also I think it bled into the actual critics, right? This was the one you were nominated for the Bafta for.
Right. That was for me to get nominated for a Bafta is just like astonishing. It was like, Jesus Christ, I couldn't believe it. So that was just amazing.
Wow. And any unique stories about, you said you used the same group of people. It sounds like just continually because you had a good working relationship with them. Was this your first time working with this team?
Yeah. So that was the first time I went to Prague because Stephen Burke was at Rare. He'd used the Prague guys for Cameo. So, and then, and I was just finishing up Grabbed by the Ghoulies, so I could have used it for them, but I feel like we're a bit late. So the first time that Rare went to live orchestra was for Cameo, and then the next time was for Viva Pinata, and then Nuts and Bolts. So we went for that, and as I say, I'd been to the recordings for Cameo. I spent a day there. Just Steve was doing the whole thing, and then I went back myself, for Viva Pinata later. So I knew the guys there. So, when you get a good working relationship, why break it? It's like one of those things that if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So, we had a great time in Prague. James Fitzpatrick and Nick Rayner. James Fitzpatrick was the kind of contractor. Nick Rayner was a conductor and the orchestrator. And a great bunch of people at Prague at Smecky Studios, and we just, I just felt like that. And I guess because we've been a few times, you start to actually write for the players. You know which players you're going to get. You see, the bassoon player is great. Let's write some solos from him, or the flute player is great, or the lead violin player is great. You start to pick out people that you think can do some solos or whatever. So I think it was as I say, getting people to play your music for a composer is just astonishing. Like when they played that very first Pinata, I think it's called Island Paradise. I think the first tune up in that game. Like everyone's in tears. Well, I am. It's just one of those. Just you can't put it into words. It's just truly amazing.
I heard a little bit of a tale about this next game we're gonna talk about, which is Mario and Rabbids Kingdom Battle.
Right.
I mean, you've worked on. See, I feel like you worked on these amazing titles that became amazing titles after you worked on them. But this franchise is an already established Mario, Rabbids. It's like a whole thing. It's like a huge machine already. So to get called to do this is like, that's like receiving the call.
No, totally. Yeah, it was spectacular. It really was.
Wow. Okay. Well, here, let's take a listen to this. Another amazing cue from Grant Kirkhope. This is just so great. Wow, the xylophone! You're just flexing so many muscles especially in this track, but like on this entire soundtrack, there's so many things that you're doing here with the strings and those just beautiful brass section. You're just swelling it in. It's masterful. It is masterful.
I think as a brass player, right, as a trumpet player, I like to use a lot of brass. I think sometimes composers might get a bit scared of it, but I like to use it because I'm a brass player. I feel like I know how it works. So I do like to do a lot of that. And I also feel like that track was, like Davide Soliani, who's the creative director at Ubisoft Milan, he's a big Banjo-Kazooie fan. So he said it'd be nice to have a tune that's a bit in the banjo vein. So I kind of feel like that's that one that's in the banjo. It's got like a lot of Banjo-Kazooiness to it, that tune. I used a marimba and the xylophone, because that features in Banjo-Kazooie quite a lot. So I felt like it was one of those, I should just go for it banjo. So it's kind of the most banjo-ish tune in that game. And when I look at my Spotify, I can look at the Spotify numbers because I've got the artist profile. That's the most popular track from that game. That's usually my top 5 on Spotify or the other streamers. People like that one, I guess, because it's got that banjo-ness to it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And there's so much to it as well because you have the personality of both games in there. I mean, you do that throughout the soundtrack, but this particular song is just woven so artfully. You even get the wah 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 wah, that Rabbids comic book style thing in there, which is just like, it just hits the notes perfectly. It's comical, it's epic, it's fun, and in a turn-based game, this is an exciting, thrilling song to put in there because turn-based games, they can fall flat sometimes, so they have to be engaging.
Yeah, I think like when when the game, it got leaked a little bit early. And people, when people were like Mario plus Rabbids, they're like, oh my God, it's going to be dreadful. It doesn't sound great, right? And so we've got an awful lot of negative feedback, and it kind of was quite demoralizing for the whole team. We were all like, oh God, but like, we knew that it really worked because we were working on it, and David came up with this great idea, and it was fantastic. But nobody else knew that except us, right? So even though we were getting that kind of negative press, we were like, oh, wait till you see it. So when it got to the unveiling in LA at E3 that year, with the Orpheum Theatre downtown here, and we all knew Mr. Miyamoto was going to show up, but like even though we knew it, we still jumped out of our skins. It was amazing to see him on stage with Eve Guimore, the head guy at Ubisoft. And I mean, it's just, and everybody in that theatre, the minute we showed the video and how everyone went, wow, they just loved it from the second they saw it. Like, and I kind of feel like it was such a moment of joy for the whole team to see people finally get the thing that we knew about for like 3 or 4 years prior to it being coming out, and it was such just a release and a relief for all of us to see people that they got it and thought it was great, and people were super keen to play it and to buy it, and it was really super heartening that it turned out the way it did, because I think prior to it coming out, we're all be upset that people were going, oh God, what a stupid idea this is, And it doesn't sound like a good idea, but until you play it, you kind of go, it really works. All the humor's there. The Ubisoft guys in Milan and Paris have really got the humor. They've got that kind of Banjo-Kazooie humor, if you like, that kind of, it's quite sarcastic, and I feel like it really worked on all levels, that game.
It really does. And it even translates overseas, so it's not just like what we refer to sometimes as British humor. It's actually a universal kind of comedy and an adventure. It's just it's a really great thing, and I played the heck out of this game, and I absolutely loved every minute of it.
Yeah.
Looking forward to the sequel.
In fact, I was in the UK last week, and the soundtrack won the Ivor Novello Award for Best Video Game, which is the Ivor Novello is a really prestigious British award. Like, I couldn't believe it, but it was last Thursday. I only just got back at the weekend, and we won the Ivor Novello Awards are very composer and songwriter centric. It's all about the craft of songwriting and composing, right? So it's super prestigious. It's one of those British things, and I mean, we got nominated. I was like, that's amazing, but we actually won it. I couldn't believe it. Like, just, I gave a little speech. I kind of burst into tears. It was like one of those. And me and Gareth Coker, we did it together. And Yoko Shimomura did it too. She didn't come, but me and Gareth were there. And just phenomenal. So you got to get that game bought and play it.
Definitely. Done. Wow. Congratulations on that. And that's an industry award, right? So that's like,
right. Yes, it really is like, it's more like it's judged by your peers.
Yeah.
So, and it's they don't let the cameras in there because like a lot of the speeches get quite emotional and people are cursing quite a lot. It's not
Sure.
like the kind of, not like your BAFTAs, your Oscars or Emmys, it's a bit different to that. So it's a very different award. And as I say, it's like Sting was there. Sting got the Fellowship Award for the highest award that Ivor Novello can give for his songwriting career, kind of thing. So, you get a lot of that kind of pop starry people there. And they've added video games in the last, I think, 5 or 6 years. So, and we won it. I mean, honestly, I gave a little speech. It's on my social media somewhere. But just unbelievable. I could not believe it. When they called our names out, I nearly jumped out of my skin. It was just one of those moments in your life you can't believe.
Goodness, congratulations. How exciting.
No, it really was. Yeah, it's phenomenal.
It was well earned. And I wanted to ask you if are you working on things right now that you can talk about or chat or get us.
So I'm just finishing up the DLC for My Rabbids Sparks of Hope. I'm just doing that right now. I'm nearly finished. I would think in the next couple of days we're done with that. So there's a DLC 2, a DLC 3, and DLC 3 is Rayman. It's got Rayman in it. And DLC 2 is coming out very soon. You'll see that. It's very good fun. But yeah, I think DLC 2 must be out pretty soon because it's done, and I've just nearly finished DLC 3. So that's what I'm working on right now.
So if you're working on that right now, you just won this incredible prestigious award. Are you scouting out for specific games, specific companies? Are you reaching out, or are you saying like, hey, I'm going to wait till the next one comes down the pipe for me?
No, I'm always reaching out. You've got to keep shaking the trees, right? people forget who you are. So, I'm looking for another project right now. So I've not got one yet. So let's see. Fingers crossed I get one, or I'll be selling the house.
Copy that. Yeah, copy that. That's a good lesson for young people coming up. You've got composers and people that are still in school. That's an interesting thing, that even as someone at your level and your talents, you're still out there hustling. You're still out there pushing.
It's the only way. You have to do it. Like, there's no way around it. If you're self-employed like I am, you've got to keep shaking the trees to keep up forget who you are. They really do. So it's an eternal battle, and you have to just do your best.
Wow, that's very inspirational. And Grant, what inspires you in your daily life?
I guess there's so many great composers out there. I guess you look towards them and say, I want to try to be as good as they are. And so I feel like I do call it the curse of aspiration. I feel like I'm never happy. I'm always continually aspiring to be to be better than I am. And so I'm never one of those people that rests on the laurels. I just kind of feel like that was then and this is now. And I need to make sure that I get better every time. And I still feel like I'm still learning. So I think that's important. Even after 20 odd years, 25 years, whatever it is, I've been doing this stuff. I feel like I still learn every time I write something. I feel like I'm getting better. So, when I look to John Williams, who's one of my heroes, I just think, I don't have 1% of his talent. His abilities is just stupendous. So maybe I'll try to get 2% this time. I don't know, but it's one of those. There's plenty of really, really fantastic composers out there that the skill just kind of frightens me how good they are. So I think that I just aspire to be better always. And it is a bit. I do call it a curse, because I do feel like sometimes it can drive you up the wall and it can make you a very miserable person. No matter what you do, no matter what level of success you get, however small, however big, there's always something next to strive for. And so I haven't lost that motivation yet. I guess if I lose that, I'll quit. But I haven't lost that motivation yet. I still want to be better than I am.
Wow. It reminds me of that Ernest Hemingway quote, right? Like, true nobility is not being better than anyone else. It's being better than your former self.
Yeah, I think that's totally true. I really feel like, if you can keep that spirit about you, I think it'll carry you far. And I'm not the kind of guy that thinks I'm great. I just think I'm all right. So I feel like, I just want to be better.
Wow. Very humble, very wonderful. And I can see the John Williams influence. His brass section is incredible, and he has those trumpets. Star Wars, Indiana Jones. I could go on for days. Even the Olympics, right? He's got the Olympics.
What a great piece that is. That's a great piece, isn't it? Phenomenal piece that is.
I mean, I tell people all the time, how do you bring the whole world together? Oh, you get John Williams to make a trumpet song. Yeah,
that's a great piece of music. That music is so uplifting. That thing he wrote, it's just perfect.
Do you write music for fun, or do you just write it for work?
Not at all. I used to, not anymore. I feel like before I was a composer, like I played in metal bands and all the rest of it, and you'd write music for that stuff. But since it became my job, that kind of ended really. I don't write music at all. But I have written two. Funny enough, I've written 2 trombone concertos, and one for Ian Bousfield, who's a very famous tenor trombone player. One for Charlie Vernon, who's a very famous bass trombone player from the Chicago Symphony Orchestra. I wrote them each a concerto for those 2 guys, and that was kind of for fun. But apart from that, no, that's it.
So what do you do for fun then, Grant?
I don't really feel like I've got any interests outside of my job. I don't feel like I've got any space in my head for anything else. So I used to play golf. That was terrible, but I mean, the minute we had kids, that kind of stopped. So that was 20 years ago. So I never really got back into it again. My next door neighbor here keeps saying to me, Grant, just come and hit some balls, I'm kind of embarrassed to go to. I was bad then. God knows what I'm like now.
Well, it's the Scottish heritage, right? That's the whole thing.
Yeah. So I guess so.
Yeah.
So I don't know really. I really haven't got any interests.
Oh, okay. Well, hey, I love the interest that you do have, with music, because it inspires all of us. I can't tell you how many times I've written or worked to your music. It's it's just wonderfully inspiring. So I'm very grateful of all that
Well, I
you've
hope it
done,
helps.
Grant. Yeah. Oh, it does. Absolutely. My last question here is for all those composers out there who are starting, who are finishing, who are building up to something. Do you have any tips or tricks for them that they might to brush off the cobwebs or get to this the final place that they're trying to get to?
I get asked that quite a bit. I have a few things I would say about that, and I kind of think that, as write some music every day, right? Do it every day. Because I was a staff composer at Rare for 13 years nearly. It was a 9 till 5 job. So I got used to turn up at work in the morning, start writing work at 9, finish at 5, go home, do the same the next day. And I think it's a great regime to get into. A lot of times, creative people or whatever, sit in a darkened room, wait for the hand of the law to hand them a song, whatever. And I'm not like that. I'm very workmanlike. I'll sit down at 8:45 every morning, work till 1 or 2 in the afternoon or 3, get the groceries, whatever, and then work then at night if I'm busy, I'll do some more. So I feel like, you need to set yourself that time to do it. Don't be that kind of inspiration thing. Like, be workmanlike, treat it as a job. When I write a piece of music, I'll just load up a sample, a clarinet or a French horn or a synthesizer, and just mess around with it till I hear some chords I like or hear a tune that I like, and then build on that. And also, I always say, don't look at the mountain that you try to climb. Just take the next step, right? Like, take the next little step and just build it. Because even at me, when I get signed on to do a game, we need to have 2 hours of music. You're like, oh my God, how am I going to write 2 hours of music? But, just take the next step, write the next 4 bars or the next couple of bars, and then before you know it, you start to get to that thing you want to be at, So, and no one writes great music all the time. No one does. You just, you start writing crap, and then it gets better, you get the crap out, you start to get better, you get better, you craft. And so you're not going to get better unless you do it all the time. So make sure you do it set a time every day, religiously. Do it every day, whatever time that is, that you work best, do it. Don't miss it. And if you write nonsense, doesn't matter. Do the same the next day. And I feel like also, don't argue with the creative director. It's a waste of time. Like, it's all very well saying, well, they might say they don't like they don't like the piece that you've written, right? And if you argue about it, look, it's a great chord scheme, it's a great melody, you're just deaf. They're just going to say, I don't care what you say. I don't like it. Like, music's subjective, right? It's one of those things that, even things that I think that I'm really, really proud of, the guy I don't like it, I just got to start again. Don't argue about it, because you're going to get fired. There's 8 million people stood behind you who want your job, right? Don't argue, you're going to get fired. It's just a waste of time. Just get on with it, change it. I kind of feel like you're no different to the mechanic or the gardener or whatever. You hire those guys to do it the way you want it to be, the way you want it, and people hire me to do it the way they want it to be. They hire me because maybe they like things they've done in the past, but this doesn't mean they're going to like what I write in the future. So write what they want. They write what they want. There's no point arguing about it. It's a waste of time. I really feel like sometimes a lot of composers don't get it's a job. It is a job. If you want to write your own stuff, go write a pop song, go write a symphony, great, do what you like. That's your thing. But the minute you get hired by somebody else, you need to do what they want you to do.
That's terrific. That's terrific. You're right, because I think people, they take too much pride of ownership, or they're waiting for that inspiration, and in the meantime, you've lost a job. You've lost a client.
It's your own stuff. Yeah, if you write your own stuff, great. But you're writing for somebody else, you just got to do what they want, or because you can find somebody else right behind you want to get the job like that. It will do what they want. So if you're John Williams or a huge big composer, maybe you can do what you like. But Grant Kirkhope can't do that. So you just do what you're asked to do.
Grant, you're so amazing. That's such a wonderful. It's such a wonderful sentiment to end on as well. This kind of advice for young people and for budding and even current composers. And I just appreciate your time today and everything that you've shared with us. All these little behind the scenes moments as well. And we look forward to all the music of the future to hear from you.
Well, fingers crossed. I keep managing to get jobs, so let's keep hoping.
Thank you so much, Grant, and we'll talk soon.
All right.
Thanks for being here.